You are not audible, Prabhuji, if you are speaking. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Aarti Mataji. Sorry, I was speaking on mute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams. Okay, we'll start with our prayers and then reading from Prabhupada Lilamrit. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminate Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatadeshutarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, anybody would like to sing our prayer today? Gauranga Bulite Vipulaka Sharira.
I can try, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Amresh Prabhu. Yeah, please go ahead.
Gauranga bolite habe pulaka sharira Hari Hari bolite na yani bave nira Gauranga bolite habe pulaka sharira Hari Hari bolite na yani bave nira Ar kabe nitai chandra karuna hoibe samsara vasana mora kabe tuchha habe Visaya chariya kabe sudha habe mana kabe ham hari bo Shri Vrindavana Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti Kabe Ham Bujhabo Se Jugala Pirati Rupa Raghunatha Pade Rahu Mora Asa Pratana Koroi Sada Narottama Dasa Rupa Raghunatha Pade Rahumora Asa Pratana Kuroi Sada Narottama Dasa Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amresh Prabhu, for the nice recitation. That wonderful
I
prayer.
can go the translation, Prabhuji.
Yes, go ahead, Nalan Prabhu.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
When will
Yes.
that opportune moment come to us when there will be severing of the body as soon as we chant Lord Gaurang's name? While chanting Hare Krishna, when will there will be tears in the eyes? When will I obtain the mercy of Lord Nityananda Chandra? When by his mercy will the desire for material enjoyment become very significant? When the mind is completely purified, being freed from material anxieties and desires, then I shall be able to understand Vrindavan and the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna. And then my spiritual life will be successful. When shall I be very much eager to study the books left by the 6 Goswamis, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. By their instruction, I shall be able to properly understand the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. My only aspiration is to attain the lotus feet of the six Goswamis headed by Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Narottama Das constantly prays to attain their lotus feet.
Hare Krishna. Also my Pratna ki jai, Shri Narottam Das Thakur ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. You can also read one purport. Anybody else would like to read the purport? Thank you, Nalin Prabhu. And yesterday we read purport 1. Today we'll read this purport 2, spoken in January 1969 in LA. Yes. Anybody would like to read?
I can read.
Yes,
Hare
Mataji. Shama Karna Mataji, go ahead.
This is a song sung by Narottama Das Thakur. He says, when that day will come, that I shall sing simply Lord Chaitanya's name, and there will be shivering on my body. Gauranga bolite habe polaka sharire. Polaka sharire means shivering on the body. When one is factually situated in the transcendental platform, sometimes there are 8 kinds of symptoms: crying, talking like a madman, and shivering of the body, dancing without any care for any other man. These symptoms develop automatically. They are not practiced artificially. So Narottama Das Thakur is aspiring for that day, not that one has to artificially imitate. That he does not recommend, he says. When that day will come, so that simply by uttering the name of Lord Chaitanya, there will be a shivering on my body. Gauranga bolite habe pulaka sharira, and Hari Hari bolite. And as soon as I shall chant Hari Hari or Hare Krishna, there will be pouring down of tears from my eyes. Hari Hari bolite nayane abe Nayane Bebe Neera. Neera means water. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said that when that day will come, we should simply aspire. But if by grace, Krishna's grace, that stage we can reach, these symptoms will come automatically. But Narottama Das Thakur says that it is not possible to reach that stage without being freed from material affection. Therefore, he says, Ara Khabe Nithai Chandar Corona Hoibe. When that day will come when Lord Nityananda's mercy will be bestowed upon me so that Vishaya Chadiya Ara Khabe Nithai Chandar Corona Hoibe Samsara Basana Mora Kabe Tucha Habe. Samsara Basana means the desire for material enjoyment. Samsara Basana, Bhasana. More kabe tuchha habe, when my desire for material enjoyment will be insignificant, non-important. Tuchha means a thing which we calculate no value, throw it away. Similarly, spiritual advancement is possible when one is convinced that this material world and material happiness is no value. It cannot give me any real bliss of life. This conviction is very much necessary. Samsara basana mora kabe tuchha habe. And he also says that when I shall be free from the desires of material enjoyment, then it will be possible to see the real nature of Vrindavana. Vishaya chadiye khabe shuddha habe mana. When my mind will be completely purified, uncontaminated from the material contamination, at that time it will be possible for me to see what is Vrindavana. In other words, one cannot go to Vrindavana by force and live there, and he will achieve that transcendental bliss. No one has to make his mind freed from all material desires. Then one can live at Vrindavana and relish its residential benefit. So Narottama Dasa Thakur says that Vishaya Chadiye Khabe, Shuddha Habe Mana. When my mind will be freed from the contamination of this material enjoyment and I shall be purified, then it will be possible for me to see Vrindavana as it is. Otherwise, it is not possible. And he says again that to go to Vrindavana means to understand the transcendental pastimes of Radha and Krishna. how this will be possible. So he says, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti. Rupa Goswami, beginning from Rupa Goswami down to Raghunath Dasa Goswami, there were 6 Goswamis: Rupa, Sanatana, Gopala Bhatta, Raghunath Bhatta, Jiva Goswami, Raghunath Dasa Goswami. So he says, Rupa Raghunatha Pade. Beginning from Rupa Goswami down to Raghunath Dasa Goswami Pade, in their lotus feet, at their lotus feet, when I shall be eager to be attached at their lotus feet. Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti. Akuti, eagerness. What is this? That eagerness. That means to understand Radha Krishna through the guidance of the Goswamis. One should not try to understand Radha Krishna by his own effort. That will not help him. As these Goswamis, they have given us direction just like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So one has to follow step after step how to make progress. Then there will be a fortunate day when we shall be able to understand what is the pastimes of loving affairs between Radha and Krishna. Otherwise, if we take it as ordinary boy and girls reciprocating their loving feelings, then we will misunderstand. Then there will be the production of Prakriti Sahajya, victims of Vrindavana. Sri Narottama Das Thakur is giving us the direction how one can reach the highest perfectional stage of associating with Radha and Krishna. The first thing is that one should be very much attached to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That will lead us because he came to deliver the understanding of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one should first of all surrender to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By surrendering to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu will be pleased, and by his pleasing we shall be freed from material desires. And when material desires are no more, then we shall be able to enter Vrindavana. And after entering Vrindavana, when we are eager to serve the 6 Goswamis, then we can reach the platform to understand the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Yes, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you, Prabhuji, for giving me. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Ramakrishna Mataji. Wonderful. Yeah, so like this, we see, from this prayer, how Narottam Das Thakur is praying that when will he have the opportunity to be at the lotus feet of the 6 Goswamis, right? So in that same mood, Dasana Das, he's praying for the lotus dust of the lotus feet of the Vrajavasis, right? So like yesterday in Prabhupada Lilamrita, also Prabhupada was saying, no matter if somebody comes to Vrindavan, no matter what offenses he has committed, as long as he remains committed to the lotus feet, to the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas there, then he'll be fine. And this prayer, this is called Lalasa Mai, right? So that eagerness that he's talking about, Akuti, eagerness is that Lalasa, hankering. It's the same Lalasa that the gopis had, right, when they sang that prayer to Krishna, Rurudam Suswaram Rajan, Krishna Darshana Lalasa. That they had a deep hankering to meet Krishna. So that deep hankering comes when we follow these acharyas, and that's how these prayers again, like we don't know what to pray, right? But when we sing these prayers and we read their deeper meanings, then we understand what should our prayer be. And through these sincere prayers, the doors of the heart opens. So we say prayers open the doors of our hearts. This is how the prayers help us to open the doors of our heart, because it's not in our control. It is through the mercy of the acharyas, through the mercy of the Lordship, that door opens. We can open the doors of our body and our mind by following the regulative principles, by doing chanting. But the doors of the heart, where the Lord is situated, it can only be opened by His mercy, by the devotee's mercy. So this is that way that we can open those doors, or we can seek the mercy of the Lord. Okay, so let's continue with Prabhupada Lilamrit. Prabhupada, yesterday we saw he's come back to Vrindavan, his eternal residence, Radha Damodar temple. And Prabhupada is talking to his disciples, and he's absorbed again while he's in Vrindavan. He's continuing just like here. These commentaries that we were reading on this prayer from Prabhupada yesterday, he's talking, his disciples are reading from Nectar of Devotion, and Prabhupada is interjecting and commenting in between. So similarly, like how we read this prayer, Prabhupada is interjecting and commenting with his purport. So like that he was doing in Radha Damodar temple, and he was encouraging his disciples who were physically working, toiling for the land, for the temple to be built, saying that even though they had hardships in practicing their sadhana bhakti, he said they are thinking of the contractors, they're thinking of how to build this temple nicely, is also perfect service for Krishna, which is what we have been talking about, that no service is small or insignificant in the service of the Lord. Every service is equally important, every service is absolute. So Prabhupada is teaching that to Subala Prabhu here. And he was about to share this story and he was talking about Arjuna, saying that as Arjuna was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and he was not thinking, he was not in a trance thinking of Krishna, but he was actually serving Krishna by following his instructions. So similarly, when we are serving in this battle, like this chapter is called Battle for Bombay. So like Battle of Kurukshetra, Prabhupada is connecting it to Battle for Bombay and Battle for Vrindavan and Battle for Mayapur, all these lands that he has purchased. But they're going to so many struggles to build temples. Okay, so we'll continue from here. So Prabhupada asks him, do you know the story of Mr. Beecham? And Subala shook his head. No one would buy his medicine, Prabhupada continued. So he became anxious. Still he tried, and one day a man approached him in his shop and asked if he had any Beecham's powder, and in excitement that someone had asked for his medicine, he died. Similarly, better we spend our whole life and die just to make one person Krishna conscious. That is our line. To become so absorbed in preaching Krishna, whether in Vrindavan or anywhere, we must save all these asuras from destroying the world. In stressing active service and practical results, Srila Prabhupada was exactly following the teaching and example of his spiritual master. According to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, to chant in a secluded place and not preach was a cheating process. Devotional service meant practical work for Krishna. The simple, positive way to control the senses was to engage them fully in the service of Krishna. Active service was the topmost yoga, Prabhupada told Subala, a fact that he had repeatedly explained in his books. In the recently published second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he had written, here it is clearly mentioned that the inhabitants of Vrindavan were extensively busy in the hard labor of their day's work, and due to the day's hard labor, they were engaged in sound sleep at night. So practically, they had very little time to devote to meditation or to other paraphernalia of spiritual activities. But factually, they were engaged in the highest spiritual activities only. Everything done by them was spiritualized because everything was dovetailed in their relationship with Lord Shri Krishna. The central point of activities was Krishna, and as such, the so-called activities in the material world were saturated with spiritual potency. That is the advantage of the way of Bhakti Yoga. One should discharge one's duty on Lord Krishna's behalf, and all one's actions will be saturated with Krishna's thought, the highest pattern of trance and spiritual realization. As far as possible, Prabhupada engaged each disciple in a certain service according to the particular disciple's psychophysical nature. But everyone had to take up some kind of work for Krishna. Since Prabhupada desired to build a temple in Vrindavan, then whoever would help him do it, whether they were trained or not, or whether it was their tendency or not, whoever offered him assistance would become very dear to him and to Lord Krishna. When a householder couple, Gurudas and Yamuna, agreed to remain in Vrindavan to help Prabhupada build the temple, Prabhupada welcomed it and shared with them the intention of his plan. If you can construct a nice temple in Vrindavan for me in this way, I shall be eternally grateful, because we are a worldwide movement of Krishna, and if we do not have a nice place at Vrindavan, then what will be the use? Vrindavan is Krishna's land, and in the future many of our disciples will go there just to see, along with many tourists and other friends. So therefore we must have sufficient place for them. I know that you are not trained up for being construction manager, neither that job must be very tasteful to you, but because you are sincere devotee of Krishna, he is giving you all strength and intelligence how to do it. That is what we want. That is advancement in Krishna consciousness. By the time Prabhupada and most of his disciples left Vrindavan at the end of Kartik, relations between his disciples and the residents of Vrindavan had improved. The people of Vrindavan were impressed by the devotees' daily Sankirtan procession to Ramanareti, and they were impressed by Prabhupada. Although Prabhupada felt that much time had been wasted, it had been a year since Mr. S had offered them the land. He was now hopeful. ISKCON projects were developing all over the world, and all were struggling. The devotees' only means of income was from sale of the books and to some degree from their spiritual sky incense business. As yet, Prabhupada had no architectural plan for his Vrindavan project, but he determined to gather from his book fund and from devotees enough money for materials and labor. One day he went to the building site and asked a devotee to mix a little cement, and with his own hand he laid down the first concrete for the foundation. Jai. Hyderabad, November 11, 1972. Prabhupada had come to Hyderabad for a Pandal program. Big crowds attended his lectures, and wherever he went, even while getting into and out of his car, people surrounded him to touch his lotus feet. Although Hyderabad had been suffering from drought, a few days after Prabhupada's arrival, rains came. One newspaper suggested that the Harinam Kirtan Srila Prabhupada and his devotees performed so enthusiastically must have ended the drought. Prabhupada agreed. Srila Prabhupada met with Mr. N, who was visiting Hyderabad from Bombay. Shyam Sundara still had a cordial relationship with Mr. N because Mr. N had been fond of his 3-year-old daughter, Saraswati. So he went to Mr. N and convinced him to speak to Prabhupada. Mr. N agreed, but being suspicious that Prabhupada might try to use mystic power to persuade him to do something against his will, he brought a guru with him, thinking the guru would counteract Prabhupada's spiritual power. Mr. N, his guru, and Shyam Sundara all came to the home of Panilal Priti, where Prabhupada was staying. Prabhupada met informally with his guests, conversing with them over prasadam until he yawned, and Mr. N's guru said, "Oh Swami, you must be very tired. We should not disturb you now. You should rest, and we may talk later." "Oh yes," Prabhupada replied, "I am very tired." So Mr. N and his guru excused themselves and retired to the adjoining room. After a few minutes, Prabhupada called Tamal Krishna Goswami into his room. "When someone asks you if you are tired," Prabhupada said, "it means he is tired. If you go into the other room, you will see that they are sleeping." He instructed Tamal Krishna to carefully awaken Mr. N without disturbing his guru and bring him in. Tiptoeing into the room, Tamal Krishna found both Mr. N and his guru asleep on the beds. He went over to Mr. N, touched his arm, and said quietly, Mr. N, wake up. Prabhupada would like to speak with you. Come quickly." Mr. N, being roused from his slumber, obediently walked into Prabhupada's room, forgetting his guru friend. For 2 hours, Prabhupada talked with Mr. N, and by the end of the discussion, they had worked out a new sales agreement. Tamal Krishna and Shyam Sundara, working in a separate room, drafted and typed the documents, while Prabhupada and Mr. N settled the final legal points. Then Mr. N signed the agreement, while his guru friend continued sleeping soundly. Later that day, Tamal Krishna confided to Srila Prabhupada, "I am so disturbed by these dealings that I can't chant my rounds properly." "That is natural," Prabhupada replied. "Sometimes when I am disturbed, I also. But I can see that I am making spiritual advancement, even so," Tamal Krishna admitted. Prabhupada nodded. "I used to think how to avoid difficult situations," Tamal Krishna said, "but now I think I should not run away from them." "Yes," said Srila Prabhupada, "we should welcome these. They give us an opportunity to advance more." Shyam Sundara and Tamal Krishna Goswami flew back to Bombay with Mr. N that afternoon. According to the new terms, ISKCON would pay Mr. N the 5 lakhs of rupees for the government tax, and in return, Mr. N would execute the deed. But there was also a new time limit, 3 weeks, and the devotees would have to work fast. Prabhupada himself would soon come to Bombay to settle the matter once and for all. Bombay, November 25th, 1972. Although Prabhupada had come to Bombay with hopes of finishing the land transaction, Mr. N was still delaying, despite the new agreement. Obviously, his stalling was simply part of his plan to cheat ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada waited many days in Bombay, finally departing for a Pandal program in Ahmedabad. He left behind instructions for his disciples to get the deed on the new terms or else to take back the original 2 lakh of rupees paid as the down payment. While Srila Prabhupada was away, however, Shyam Sundara, Tamal Krishna Goswami and the others began talking about how even if they could one day get the deed to the Juhu property, to develop Hare Krishna land the way Prabhupada had envisioned would be practically impossible. Shyam Sundara argued that even if they got the land, how could they really expect to build a big temple and hotel out here in the jungle? It just wouldn't work. Meanwhile, from Ahmedabad, Prabhupada continued to wage his Bombay campaign, and he requested Mr. N and Mr. D to come to Ahmedabad to try and make a settlement. They declined. In Bombay, the devotees learned that if they wanted to get back their down payment as well as the money they had deposited toward the 5 lakh gains tax, then they would have to cancel the new agreement. They were confused and their time was running out. One morning, one of Prabhupada's disciples, Vishakha Devi Dasi, arrived in Ahmedabad from Bombay. Prabhupada called for her and told her to return to Bombay immediately with a message. Out of concern that his leaders in Bombay not make a wrong decision and decide to relinquish the land, he told her to tell them that they should not under any circumstance cancel the agreement with Mr. N. Actually, he said, this is not a woman's job, but everyone else here is either engaged in the pandal or has not been with us long enough to do this task. Vishaka took the next train out of Ahmedabad and arrived in Bombay the following morning. But what Prabhupada had foreseen had already happened. The devotees had cancelled the sales agreement. They were convinced that to get the land would be a mistake, and their lawyers had agreed, pointing out that if the devotees wanted to retrieve their money, they should cancel the agreement immediately. When the devotees heard Prabhupada's message from Ahmedabad, confusion reigned. They now had no legal standing, no claim to the land, and they had failed to carry out Prabhupada's desire. Giriraj phoned Prabhupada in Ahmedabad to tell him what had happened. Bhaktivedanta Swami here, Prabhupada said as he took the telephone. Giriraj was saying that a devotee had come from Ahmedabad with a message. Yes, yes, Prabhupada said. What is the point? Finally, Giriraj blurted out that they had cancelled the sales agreement. Prabhupada was silent. Then, in a voice that expressed both anger and resignation, he said, then everything is finished. I shall be the last man to give up the Hare Krishna land to the rogue Mr. N, Prabhupada wrote to a life member just before leaving Ahmedabad for Bombay. Prabhupada was now immediately planning how to rectify his disciples' mistakes. No money had yet been transferred, so perhaps it was not too late. Mr. N could not possibly understand why Prabhupada was so determined in his fight to keep the Juhu land. Not that Prabhupada had kept his motives hidden, but only a devotee can understand the mind or actions of another devotee. Mr. N was dealing with Prabhupada just as he had dealt with C Company. He had cheated them, and now he would cheat ISKCON. He could only surmise that Prabhupada and his disciples were driven by the same motive as he himself, the only motive he could understand, material possessiveness. Actually, even Prabhupada's disciples were having difficulty understanding Prabhupada's unbreakable determination. Prabhupada's main motive was to preach Krishna consciousness in Bombay. Srila Prabhupada said, my Guru Maharaj ordered me to preach Krishna consciousness in the West, and I have done that. Now, I want to preach in India. Bombay was the most important city in India, the gateway, and within Bombay, Krishna had somehow led Prabhupada to this land where he had begun preaching and had brought the deities of Radha and Krishna. In Prabhupada's eyes, the land was suitable for the large, gorgeous temple and international hotel he had planned. Okay, we'll pause here for today. Hare Krishna. Yes, again we see how this guy, Mr. N, Mr. Nair, his original name was Mr. Nair, is completely absorbed in material possessiveness, right? And again, the prayer that we sang, and when we are attached to material comforts, material possessiveness, there is no way we can understand or we can progress on the path of bhakti. Right? So this is a big, and he is thinking, since he is in that consciousness, he's thinking everybody else around him is also in that consciousness. But Prabhupada's determination is firm, and his disciples sometimes are thinking, why is Prabhupada so determined, so adamant to get this land? But that is the vision. That is the vision of an acharya. He's already seen that the lordships are here, and this is their abode, and we have to build a beautiful temple. So sometimes we, like yesterday also, we're reading these disciples. Sometimes Giriraj Maharaj now, he's one of the leaders of our movement, senior most leaders of Prabhupada, one of the disciples of Prabhupada, and how much he sacrificed. In that time, probably he was in his probably early teens or in his 20s, right? So he was young, he was inexperienced, but again, we see the dedication. Of course, his father himself was a lawyer, so you can see, how much he himself is suffering while being an attorney's son. But Prabhupada, like he was telling, all these young disciples, Shyamsundar Prabhu and Tamal Krishna Maharaj, of course, were a little more experienced, but still, even they, with their experience, were saying that this property will not work, this land will not work, right? So again, that is the kind of the lack of spiritual advancement, or again, this is all Leela, of course, pure devotees. But Krishna is teaching us that, I was, again, just drawing parallels. Yesterday we had His Grace Devakinandan Prabhu. He is one of Prabhupada's senior disciples. He got initiated at the very young age of 16 years. So he was here visiting us, and we had a meeting with him as a council at our center. So I was just drawing a parallel to what happened while our reading yesterday and what happened here. Right? So we can compare ourselves to these neophytes, early beginners in spiritual life. We are all part of Prabhupada's family. We have bought this center at 8800 Governors Hill Drive, we installed, or we had Radha Vrindavan Chandra come from New Vrindavan. We went through, we did our programs for whatever time, 9-10 months. And right now we are struggling with the legalities, getting the zoning change for that particular property. And, we were losing hope that maybe this is not the place. Just like these early disciples of Prabhupada were losing hope. And then Prabhupada sends his senior disciples like Shyam Sundar Prabhu, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, right, Bhavananda Maharaj, and all of them come. So like that, yesterday Prabhupada sends, his grace. Devkinandan Prabhu, all the way. He's a very senior disciple. He has helped build many temples of ISKCON projects all over the world. So he was there to give us some strength. So he was looking at all the different options, what we are doing here in our C3 center currently in Liberty, what is our plan for this center, etc. So, and he gave us some directions, instructions, what to do, how we can approach, move forward. So, like, just Prabhupada sends his disciple, his senior disciple like that. Prabhupada sent him yesterday to us, just as we were reading from Prabhupada Lilamrit. So we'll see again whatever is Lord Krishna's plan, what is Prabhupada's plan will eventually happen. But our dharma, so our dharma is to continue to struggle, continue to be determined on this path, and eventually time is, like Prabhupada used to say, the temple is already there, time is just separating us from it. So hopefully that vision will come to a reality one day. Okay. And yeah, this is very, very significant. Also, Prabhupada was saying yesterday, like, they're giving the example of Arjuna, right? Arjuna on the battlefield of Krishna, like we were talking about, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So this is a battle for Bombay. This is our also battle. We are also like, Krishna had one Arjuna. Prabhupada has created so many Arjunas in all of us, all his disciples and grand disciples. We are all like Arjuna. We are on this battlefield of Kurukshetra, and Prabhupada is guiding us. We just have to surrender unto him, right? Just like Arjuna did. Shishyasteham sadhimam tam prapannam. So by surrendering sincerely and following Lord Krishna's instructions, he was able to do the right thing. So similarly, we, as all the neophyte Arjunas of Srila Prabhupada, we have to surrender and we have to follow his instructions, be fully dedicated, committed to the process of bhakti, and then hopefully, with their mercy, we'll be able to move forward. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything from today's reading? Reflections, anything that you liked?
So, Hariketa Prabhuji.
Hmm.
Yeah, actually, sometimes our material consciousness, material comfort, and name senses gratifications always take out from our, spiritual consciousness or divine consciousness or Krishna consciousness. So we have to be very careful whenever it happens, because even though we do, follow ABCDEF formula, association, book reading, then chanting and deity service, and EF is something like eliminating unfavorable things of Krishna. Like all this ABCD formula, like sometimes we practice it, but this material comforts and senses gratification, name gratification, bodily and materially comforts take away from us. So we have to be very careful and, keep doing whatever the formula is applicable, ABCD, very nicely, attentively. And as you said, like our heart only opens when his mercy comes. That is also another fact.
Thanks, Prabhu. Wonderful. Thank you. Yes. EFG can also be using everything for God. Thank you so much. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Just
All right. Anybody else would like to say anything? Okay. If not, then let's wrap it up here today. Thank you so much for your kind association. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavandi ki jai. जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद लीलामृत की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Dandavat pranams.